This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we take a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of all things video games. My name is George Feis.
And I'm the man they call Johnny Clash, and today we are playing King of Colosseum II for the PlayStation 2. And we're also going to discuss our first reactions and gameplay for WWE 2K25.
And as always, please make sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you choose to listen. Follow along on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. As of recording, we just finished recording our Muppets trivia, and John and I did not do well.
No. 22 questions. I think I got 5 or 6 right, which means I ate a Bean Boozle bean for each one.
Yeah, it was
some good, some bad.
We did not do well. There was a surprise third entry into the competition. If you listen to Going Postal or you listen to this show, you could probably guess who that was. Dylan was the host. It was myself, Johnny Clash, and the surprise third competitor. And that surprise third competitor wiped the floor with us.
Yeah. It was what it was, and we're going to keep it that way. You'll see it on our Patreon. But let's talk about last week's episode. We put a bow on WWE 2K24 as we prepared for the early release, the early access of 2K25. Let's talk about last week's episode. I think it was a double play forever. 2K24, solid game. 2K25, shaping up to be a solid game. Yeah, there's some glitches here and there. We're going to talk about those in a second. But for now, 2K24, we loved it. We're sad to see it go. We're hoping they could just build on it and make 2K25 and forever going forward, not 2K20.
I am seeing some weird, and I'm sure that this will be worked out over time. Again, like John mentioned, we're playing the pre-order release of it, but I've seen people posting about how I think what's the status posted that you can't add custom decals to wrestlers, so now creating alternative versions of characters is going to be more challenging because you can't add the decals to certain parts, like certain body parts. Let me pull up that quote so I can.
Yeah, let's get. I didn't see that, so I'd like to know because I do create wrestlers. I mean, we'll get right into our thoughts of the game. Going into it, I saw a lot of complaints, all the Steam reviews. People jump right to the Steam reviews like minutes after the game's released. My rise is broken, the island's broken, blah, 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 blah. Usually we get 2-3 days before the actual worldwide launch to play this game. We're getting a week ahead of time, so I'm assuming there's going to be more bugs and glitches. We're pretty much the live play testers at this point when we're getting early access. The game should be done, yes, I believe that is correct. Everyone shouldn't have to do certain things to get into My Rise and whatnot. But let's give it a week. Let's let it breathe.
Yeah, the game's not even fully out yet. The tweet from Status was custom logos cannot be added to in-game models this year. So things like CM Punk with accurate tattoos are not going to be possible. Again, this was a tweet that was posted on March 9th. So who knows what's going to happen between now and as of this release. The game is out. It is release day, correct?
Okay. Yeah.
So it comes out on the 17th. So as of you're listening to this, it is release day.
You had said to a custom wrestler at first, so I was thinking like, oh, you can't make wrestlers, but you're saying like, I can't take AJ Styles and put Perry Saturn tattoo on his face.
I'd be honest. I'm not sure what the context. I would imagine it means if you're going to try to take the CM Punk model and maybe make Straight Edge Society CM Punk with the bald head, maybe a way that you do that, or you add texture to it so it's not just, removing the hair. You add a decal or something like that. But that's just what I saw pop up on the podcast Twitter feed the other day, and I was
have to follow that and see what happens with that, because that's a pretty big deal. So we'll check it out. We'll see. We'll keep up with that. But I'm having a
lot of good things about My Rise.
I haven't started that yet. We played a few on Sunday, and I played here and there coming up. I'm gonna create my own wrestler sometime this week and post it so you guys could play as Johnny Clash, because I know you all just look forward to that so much every year, to put him into your little eFed within 2K25. I want to give a shout out to one guy on Twitch, JG603. I've sent you his stuff before. He does a full-on universe mode with 100 wrestlers. So if you're active in chat, he will make your wrestler, or you can make it yourself and send it to him. And he does full-on pay-per-view events with the wrestlers monthly. He just did his Mania. It was incredible. He sims every game and sits there and does commentary to them. It's a lot of fun. And as of late, he's been stockpiling for his 2K25 Mania, eFed type thing. So check out JG603. I don't really, this is not like a friend of mine. This is not someone I was told to plug. This is literally just someone I enjoy watching. So if you guys are into universe mode and want to see someone do it in depth, go check that out.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I've definitely checked out the channel a couple times. It's a lot of creativity. Highly recommended as well. But the VODs suffer from the same kind of thing that a lot of things happen on Twitch, where some portions get copyright strikes, or there's sections of
YouTube
the
channel
videos.
Too.
Yep. But if you're going back for the VODs on Twitch, there are some muted sections due to the music being used. But man, I gotta say, everything that I've played in 25 so far has been pretty cool. Jumped into, I think I said it, we talked about it on the podcast. I'm going to really try to give my faction a run in this game.
Same.
And so far, I'm enjoying it. It changes it up. It adds a little bit of an extra challenge, because you can't always play as you're limited by what your deck has. So it's almost like if you were going to play Marvel Snap, but with wrestlers. And then instead of having the match where you lay out your deck, you're playing the matches. So there's, depending on the path that you choose, you could pick different match stipulations. You can pick the rewards pathing that you get. And then depending on the matches that you have at the end, you can add different cards to your deck and remove other ones. You can recharge them. It's cool. I will say I've played it a couple times in previous years. Never really have given it the time it probably deserved, but this year I'm diving in, and so far I'm really enjoying it now that I understand the concept of it.
All right, I'm gonna have to give it a go. I've just been having fun going through some exhibitions, doing some underground matches, some backstage stuff. Underground matches are addicting. They're a lot of fun.
Man, that underground match is something else.
Yeah, we posted some clips from that, some Bloodline rules matches. It's a lot of fun.
That's chaos. Bloodline rules match is fun, but
so chaotic. But
it's very chaotic, but fun.
Yeah. We'll keep you guys updated with what we're doing. Check out my Twitch, Johnny FN Clash. I changed it. The FN stands for Fortnite, I swear. Johnny FN Clash. It's no longer Johnny Clash TTV because that's lame and stupid, and I decided to change it. So I'm going to be doing some WWE
right
content.
After we plugged it on the podcast last week.
Don't worry about it. You want to get into some King of Colosseum?
Yeah, let's do it. You ready to put on those nostalgia goggles and take the deep dive into this week's game, John?
I'm putting on my Chono sunglasses and taking that deep dive.
Looking to add the newest wrestling figures to your lineup? There's no better spot to pick up your next figure than the Wrestling Collector Shop.
Started by collectors for collectors around the globe, Wrestling Collector Shop has been serving the fans the latest and greatest in wrestling action figures since 2002. So the next time you're looking for the newest wrestling collectible to add to your collection, make sure to go to WrestlingCollectorShop.com and use code GameMarks to save yourself 10% on your order.
That's 10% off your order with code GameMarks at WrestlingCollectorShop.com.
All All right, as always, the deep dive is brought to you by our friends over at Wrestling Collector Shop. Make sure to use code GameMarks to save yourself 10% over at WrestlingCollectorShop.com. And courtesy of Wrestling Collector Shop, we are giving away a figure. Last week, we gave away the Hurricane figure that John had a very lovely story about. Who won that figure, John?
The winner is Steve Hoker with the Spotify review. Sent it to us on Twitter. And this week, that is all you have to do as well. Go leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. 5 stars, of course, if you so choose. But that'll help you out a little bit. Send it to us on the Twitter, on the X, on the Instagram, and you could win this. Hard to find. Hard to get your hands on CM Punk action figure, courtesy of Wrestling Collector Shop. So if you want this return Punk, all you have to do is go leave us a review. And I'll remind you on social media as well.
Hell yes. All right, let's get into it. King of Colosseum II, released September 9th, 2004 for the PlayStation 2, developed and published by Spike Chunsoft and other wrestling games in 2004. You've got one of John's favorites, WWE Day of Reckoning. You have WWE Survivor Series, SmackDown vs. Raw, Fire Pro Wrestling Z, Rumble Roses, Backyard Wrestling 2, and Showdown Legends of Wrestling.
Hell of a year, 2004.
Pretty good lineup.
Look at the competition that this game has on PlayStation. You've got the flagship SmackDown vs. Raw. You've got Fire Pro Wrestling Z. You've got Rumble Roses. I don't know if that's really competition, but when you look at it, like the backgrounds and the textures of the game, they're a little similar, to be honest. Backyard Wrestling,
it's just that era, that generation of games. Everything kind of had that very
smokiness and clarity and looks nice, and
like everyone's body kind of looks like plasticky and
and Showdown, of course. We looks like Jeff Jarrett is now one of the refounding members of Acclaim, which is coming back, and their plan, so they say, is to bring back titles such as Legends of Wrestling. So let's see what happens.
Very, very
Jeff
interesting.
Jarrett, interesting, very interesting. But let's talk about this game here. Take me through it.
All right, so this is a spin-off of the Fire Pro Wrestling series that we have covered in great detail on this podcast. Now, King of Colosseum II is the sequel to King of Colosseum Red and Green, both available in the archive. We covered those in the past.
And in yellow, you get Pikachu following you around.
I think you might be confusing that with something else, John. Can't quite put my finger on what it is, though. This game features 162 playable wrestlers with 4 alternative characters to make the final roster number 166. I mean,
so you're saying we're not going to read the roster later? Got it.
We can hit on some big names that are available in the game, but I don't think we need to say all of them. No. But that's a lot, and last week's game was a lot too. We're covering games with a lot of rosters lately, apparently.
Big rosters.
Yeah, but the game modes, the areas of the game that you're going to be spending the most time in. You've got your exhibition match, which is various match types. You got a single, a tag, a handicap, triple threat, battle royal, and a 5-on-5 elimination. All have their own set of customizable rules. You've got Survival Road, where you compete for either a single or tag survival, and you defeat the opponents to earn points, where you unlock wrestlers, shoot fighters, rings, additional difficulties, and even more in the secret shop. Then you've got Matchmaker, which is a booking mode. You run your own promotion, create matches, and hope to satisfy the audience and put on
and Dave Meltzer
shows. You've got your title match, where you compete for or defend one of the championships from New Japan Pro Wrestling Noah, All Japan Pro Wrestling, 01, and World Japan. Series mode allows you to create and run leagues or tournaments with a single or single with manager, tag divisions. Then you have edit mode, which is exactly what it sounds like. You create and run leagues and tournaments in a single, you create and edit wrestlers and federations with access to 163 additional characters. And then we have noticed it, especially with the Fire Pro and the King of Colosseum games and some of the other obscure Japanese wrestling games that we have played, at least for John and I, we need that dojo, that training mode to kind of learn the mechanics. This one was no different. We struggled in the first couple of matches that we played, and then towards the end, we got the hang of it and kind of learned what the signal was for what the proper button combinations were.
Well, that's something we like to do even without a dojo mode. You'll see in our playthroughs on YouTube, we just throw ourselves into the fire right away. And I think we do that because part of our rating is the playability of a game. Like, can you just pick it up and play it? Or do you have to like go through all this in depth? This one was a little harder to figure out. There's a lot of moving parts. Like, while the basis pretty much is Fire Pro Wrestling, it's still a little different. You know, they make it different enough to where you're not like, oh, I would rather play Fire Pro Wrestling over this. They wanted to compete with the SmackDown vs. Raws and all that. And I think they do a good job of making it stand alone, so it's not so much exactly the same format as Fire Pro Wrestling. But the hints of it are there. Like, once you kind of grasp what's going on, the timing of the moves and all that, you could say like, okay, I get it because of that other game. Not, oh, this is like that other game.
The similarity is definitely noticeable, for sure.
But we were talking about the roster before. We're not going to go through them all here, but I'll take you through some of the notables because you have New Japan Pro Wrestling where you got young and current Masahiro Chono. You've got pretty much anyone who's everyone from New Japan Pro Wrestling, from the Fire Pro games, from all of the New Japan Pro Wrestling games. One thing that sets this game apart from certain Fire Pro games is the real roster. Where Fire Pro, you're having these, I don't want to say they're parodies, but they're just based very loosely, but they're based on real wrestlers. Say you have The Undertaker, you have Hulk Hogan, but they're not actually them. You have Chono, you have all them, but they're slightly different, and their character models have very generic ring gear because it's put together with certain pieces. In here, you have full 3D rendered wrestlers. You have Shinsuke Nakamura, you have Tanahashi, the King, you have every single person, Jushin Thunder Liger, of course, Black Cat, Riki Choshu, my god, Crazy Dogs. You have the New Japan Pro Wrestling Juniors, which is cool. You have Pro Wrestling Noah, which features Masawa, Akira Tao, the whole gang. The Burning Stable with Kenta Kobashi and Kenta and Sternus with Jun Akiyama. My god, this list is endless. We weren't kidding. There's Scorpio, Kaiji Muto. There's 4 different versions, actually. The Great Muta isn't unlockable, but you do get Kaiji Muto in 3 different versions. RO&D, Roughness, Obsess, and Destroy. You get Jamal. Yes, 3-minute warning Jamal. Bull Buchanan and D'Lo Brown. That's fun.
Are we sure that it's Bull Buchanan?
I'm pretty sure it's Bull Buchanan. What's the name of ROND Buchanan? Bull Buchanan, yeah.
Wow.
Him and D'Lo Brown were a tag team. I mean, it looked just like him in the game.
It did. I'm surprised he hasn't popped up in more games.
You have the All Japan Pro Wrestling Juniors, you have 0-1, you have World Japan, and you have U-File Camp. So you have anybody who's everybody in here. You could change the ring rules, the match rules, if you want to do more fighting style games rather than wrestling style games. So if you want to take those freelance wrestlers off and do something cool with them, sure, go have fun. I think this is the perfect game if you're a Japanese wrestling fan and you have everybody who's anybody. I mean, Samoa Joe's in here. You could do it all. You could do it all.
This is always a pro to these Fire Pro-esque Spike games, is that the roster is always very expansive. They give you just enough create modes to make it your own, whether that be in terms of wrestler editing or match customization. They always got something to kind of give you the runway to put your own stamp on it. And I feel like over time, I mean, we've played a lot of them on the show. Over time, it's just gotten better.
So here's what we got here. Bull Buchanan was in the WWF from 97 to 2003, which is where he was B Squared and Bull Buchanan.
Yep.
And then he went to All Japan Pro Wrestling and then Pro Wrestling Noah. Apparently he returned to WWE in 2011.
I think he had a segment with Cena, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Mick Foley brought him out as "This Is Your Life." I don't remember that. I'm gonna look that up after.
I think I actually just like popped up on like I think WWE may have posted a highlight of Cena moments, and I think that was it.
I remember this. Yeah, he came out looking like an old man, not Paul Buchanan. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Hey, whatever happens, happens. We all get old. Let's take a quick break. Let's come back. Let's talk about this artwork.
All right. I mean, this artwork may be, I don't know. It almost looks like it could be a record, like an album cover.
It's pretty cool. We always say it should look like a wrestling game. This does not look like a wrestling game. But
this does not.
It could be maybe the cover of like a Yakuza game or something.
They look like they are about to drop the hottest fucking album of the year.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, it's the King of Colosseum II logo big on a white background, and then the logo's on the bottom too, which standing on it in suits looking like Evolution is Kaiji Muto, Shinya Hashimoto, Masahiro Chono, and Mitsuharu Misawa. And they look like, if you look at them wrong, they are about to whoop your ass.
I was going to say, for those who know Japanese wrestling and what these four guys mean to it, those are some heavy hitters for sure.
Pretty cool. It's a different cover, but it's a cool cover. And once again, they are on the back posing in their 3D model character form. The screenshots of the game are behind them scattered. Let's go to the translator. Let's see what this big red text says.
Right. Gonna make this bigger so it's easier for you to scan.
Of course you are. You just made it worse for me to scan because now it's off the screen, but 5 years. 5 years we've been doing this. It says, "This is professional wrestling." Okay. What does this white text say? Pro wrestling fans across the country have been waiting for this, the biggest and strongest pro wrestling game in history. Was that? Is that last word? I don't know. It's not reading it. An overwhelming volume that surpasses the previous red and green, over 150 real wrestlers, 2,800 moves, and over 1,700 costumes. A diverse range of realistic performance. A wide variety of modes to expand your fun. A dream all-star game that transcends the boundaries of different organizations has finally come true. And then it lists the match types, and then you got your PlayStation stuff at the bottom that nobody cares about. But man, this is a cool cover. Would be a cool poster, like you say, with the good ones. I could see it up there on the wall with my wall of fame over here. But now let's talk about the actual graphics, the artwork, the HUD, everything in between. The first thing we pointed out was the arena looks really nice. I think there was some looking graphics during the entrance with the stage and the ramp and all that. It was okay. You have the ring announcer Hidekazu Tanaka, who wears like the marching band type suit. And you get a full entrance. You get streamers. And I think it's one of
Pyro Fog Machine.
Pyro Fog, really cool music. You get announcers during and before. I think it's one of the better looking wrestling games from this era. Like, yeah, Day of Reckoning always looked good, but there's always that difference between a Nintendo game and a PlayStation game.
Yeah.
And that had that Nintendo feel to it. SmackDown vs. Raw had that like grittiness feel to it. This looks like a wrestling presentation. Like, it looks like you're watching a wrestling game from the rafters or from the arena itself.
This has that feeling of you get that arena stadium big match feel from these arenas. There's a lot of people in the crowd. The stage itself is big. The arena, everything feels big about this game because it's all about the presentation. Like that's something that really sets the environment going into the match. And I feel like we've something that we've always talked about with the King of Colosseum games, some of the Fire Pro games. Just really, it's something that the Japanese wrestling games always hit the nail on the head with. Even back in the day for the Super Famicom and the Famicom games. There was just always something really cool for a majority of the entrance presentations, and that kind of feel carries over into the matches themselves with the character models and the textures. I mean, you're not getting, the quality of, something today where everything has its own physics engine and the lights are bouncing off of everything, but like the lighting is good, the shadow is good. The ring feels, I don't know, what'd you feel about the ring? You feel it's larger than it should be?
It was big, but I think you needed that space because a lot of the moves you end up in the ropes and you end up on a rope break where you need to like be more towards the middle. I think it's kind of it's a good size. I guess it would compare to like a WWE 20x20 if you use it like for real life. Yeah, I think it was okay. I think the one thing you pointed out during our very first playthrough was how papery the crowd is. And I get it. It's 2004. This is what we get. Even now, it's not great when you look at like the 2K25 crowd. They're 3D realistic, but look at like Jey Uso's entrance when they're doing the yeet, how like stiff they are. I guess maybe in the future we'll have a game that could produce an actual real functioning AI crowd or something that all marches to their own beat. But for now, that's what we get. In 2004, this is what we get. I think you really notice it when you go up into like the second and third level of seats, and it just looks like little flat objects sitting up there. It's not as noticeable when you're on the bottom, like floor level.
It's like a slightly better version. It's very similar to the No Mercy paper style crowd, where
and it shouldn't be. It's 5 years later.
But the textures of the crowd itself are better than what you would have in the No Mercy crowd. But
the announcer sitting there.
Something a little left to be desired there for the crowd. But
the thing is, you're only seeing that during the entrance, really, because once you're in the match, like you were saying, the ring is big. You don't really see outside of the ring when you're wrestling. You see a little bit of the ramp and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
it's really when they do the camera cuts too. Like you'll see stuff for that, which those camera cuts happen
in the game.
Yeah, few and far between. But the other thing that jumped out to me that I wasn't crazy about was the size of the HUD.
Okay. I get it. It's a huge HUD. I think it's the same. Let's see.
It's not distracting. It's just large. Like, it's not to the point where it's such a gigantic HUD that your eyes are drawn to it and it's taking away from what's happening in the match. Just the overall like overlay itself is large. The clock is huge. The your wrestler's name, while small, is in a large container. What are they called, John? The power-up things? Power balls? The power balls are, they could be smaller. They just overall, the presentation of the HUD could have been smaller.
So, we have to talk about the power balls. You get 4 of them, and they do different things. But this is even bigger than the red and green HUD. Now, say that HUD isn't there. Then you have a 1080p widescreen, like playground to play on, right? So I get it. It seems like a big deal back then because we were on that aspect ratio. But when you're on the widescreen aspect ratio now, I mean, you probably had more depth back then. Now you're just widescreen, so you don't see it as much. So now with the widescreen, I feel like the HUD's more in the way than it was back then. I don't think this bothered me as much.
No, it just was something that I noticed when we were doing our playthrough. And I was like, wow, I don't know why I never noticed. They do a good job because the lighting on the crowd is dark and then the actual overlay of the HUD is dark as well. So it's not super noticeable, but when you do notice it, you're like, oh, the presentation of that, of all that information up there is bigger than I thought that it would be. And, if it was half the size, I don't think that you would really lose that much.
Yeah. It is what it is, I guess.
It's not bad. It doesn't inhibit your ability to play the game. It was just something.
And I like that it's
dark.
to
cover these kinds of things.
Yeah, I like that it's dark though, so it doesn't like grab your eye when you're trying to play like the Showdown Legends of Wrestling one, which is like pinks and yellows and it's right in your face.
We've played ones that are just giant and silver and right in like the middle of the screen and are like 3/4 of the screen. Like it's almost like you're playing like Street Fighter.
Yeah, I think it's all right though.
Yeah,
and the Power Balls,
we've seen a lot worse.
Yeah, the Power Balls are 4 power-ups that you have during the match. Some weaker wrestlers only start with 3, but most likely you're going to have 4 if you're one of the stars of this game, and you use them to do power moves or pins or kick out of pins, and you only get what you start with. You can use them right away, you could save them, but they don't come back. So once you use them, they are gone. So that's the Powerball system. It's just something unique they added in here, something you really have to get a grasp of before you start playing this game, because it's not easy to figure out those moves and all that. Now here's something cool. When I was researching this game, I went on Giant Bomb, which is a website that has pretty much wikis on video games. And in the photo section of this game, there were backstage behind the scenes photos from the cover shoot and all that for King of Colosseum 2. So they have like Chono and all them. They have them all lined up. You see them taking the photo from the side. I mean, this reminded me of like the behind the scenes of Abbey Road in a way. Like this is our Abbey Road. It shows the white background, them standing on the logo, the lighting rigs behind them and stuff. It shows them getting their hair combed. So it's kind of cool. If you want to check them out, we'll post some on social media this week. But if not, go to giantbomb.com and put in King of Colosseum 2 and you can see them for yourself. I like these a lot. There was a lot more than I have here in the notes, George. So if you want to check it out too. But did you know? Did you know Edit Mode has over 100 wrestlers you could piece together yourself, giving your roster an extra boost?
Did you know King of Colosseum 2 is on eBay for $29 used, $70 for a complete set with red and green, and $91 brand new?
Wow.
You know, all things considered. We've seen things that are way higher priced.
That's true. That's true. But I think, listen, we've had a long night. We did some stuff with Dylan. We did our playthrough. I think it's time to sit back, relax, and it's time for some R&R, some ratings, and reviews. Now I got the Game FAQ user rating here. The user average is 4 out of 5 stars. It's considered great. The difficulty 3 out of 5, which is considered just right and a little bit tough. And the length hours played averages at around 64 hours, which is top notch. And I think that's pretty cool. Now, there is an IGN review here. There's no rating for it because they don't rate Japanese games for some reason. But there's Japanese magazine ratings here within this IGN article I just found. And yeah, they're pretty much 7.5s and 8s. This one gave it a 5.5 for some reason. I don't know who they pissed off. But I would say the average... You know what, George? We're going to do a little something here. We're going to go over to our friend ChatGPT.
Oh.
And we're going to put all of these ratings in from all of these different companies. All these different... whatever they are. Please
a live ChatGPT.
Give me the average rating. Analyzing. Okay, so here's the thing with chat. I'm always saying please and thank you, just in case one day, you know? So the average of all of these is approximately 7.5. Thanks, chat. That's pretty cool.
7.5 is not bad.
I think that's about where I'd put it. Maybe like a 6.5, 7.
May not be what some people would consider to be the greatest wrestling video game of all time, but it's certainly not a bad wrestling video game. But with that, you know, we've covered a lot of stuff here, but we got to talk about something really important, because right now it is time to rate the game.
The game!
All right, Johnny Clash, you're going to kick us off this week. King of Colosseum 2. Are you going to give it a play it forever? Or a future endeavor?
I do love Japanese wrestling games. I don't think I'm going to go back to this one. I think looking back, you look back on Red and Green, how cool it is. They work together. There's two different coming out. You notice how I'm still looking over here on this monitor, but I moved my camera to this monitor. That's going to take a really long time to get used to. Yeah, it's going to be a future endeavor. I liked it. I think it's just a little too... I said while playing it, it's got the pace of Warzone, which is not my style, and then you miss so many like running attacks that it's just kind of like, I don't know if I could do this. So I'm gonna, future endeavor this, but with the caveat that it wasn't a bad game, and I slightly did enjoy it. But George, what about you?
I'm gonna be giving this game a play it forever. I enjoyed the other King of Colosseum game that we played. Or games that we played, and I enjoyed this one too. It's I always find that with these, once you get a good grasp on the mechanics, as like we talked about earlier, once you figure out that Fire Pro-esque, that trademark signature Spike Chunsoft style of gameplay, they're fun. And this was no different. I enjoyed it. I thought the presentation was pretty good and on par with a lot of the other games that were out there in 04. And yeah, I enjoyed it. But with that, let us know what you think about this game, King of Colosseum 2. If you played it, if you want to play it, if you have hopes to play it one day. And if you have, what do you think? You give it a play it forever or a future endeavor yourself. But
And for reference, King of Colosseum Red and Green, we both double played it forever. I think those are, like I said, those are the ones I would play if I were to choose any of these.
All right. But with that, John, is it now time for us to get into the soft lock question of the week?
Let's do it. I like this one.
The Soft Lock is a section on the podcast where one of our mega marks from our Patreon gives us a topic to debate, a question to answer. It's a question of the week with a fancy name. And this week, the question comes from Sean Tecker. And Tecker's question is, now that Acclaim is being revived, timely, we talked about that earlier. What non-wrestling franchise would you want to bring back? Oh, that's easy. I know immediately what I want.
Let's hear it.
Give me NBA Jam, baby.
Oh, that's what I was going to say too.
Give me NBA Jam all day.
Now wait. They also made the Space Jam game too.
The Super Nintendo one?
Yeah.
That was a good game too.
Yeah, I had that for PC. That was one of the first PC games I ever had.
Acclaim?
That was Acclaim.
Was it Acclaim and someone else?
I don't know. Let's see.
I want to say
Space Jam video game. Published by Acclaim, developed by Sculptured Software.
Hey, maybe Sculpture is what I'm thinking of. And maybe I might be confusing that with, I think there's the Space Jam video game, and then there's also Looney Tunes basketball too.
That's, yeah, okay.
Yeah, then there's Looney Tunes b-ball. I think I'm confusing the two because that's also Sculptured Software.
I think Acclaim is very much...
Suncorp. That's what I was thinking of.
It's very much just synonymous with wrestling games in our world. Like, we very much know the wrestling games that come with it. And I think...
Yeah, I mean, WrestleMania, the arcade game, I would love that.
Yeah, a lot of them come from Acclaim in that era, and we've played a lot of them. But there's also Turok. There's NFL Quarterback Club.
Oh,
there's Bart's Nightmare, I think, was Acclaim.
Virtual Bart?
Is Bart's Nightmare Acclaim? Sculptured Software. Yeah, it was Acclaim. That was also a fun game. I love the old Simpsons games from this era. Yeah. Man, there's so many options here. It's crazy that it's coming back. Like, how good is it going to be? Like, what does Jeff Jarrett actually know about this? I saw some tweets. I don't know if it's true that they're looking to bring Legends of Wrestling back. If that's the case, I could see it happening. I think that's cool. I guess now would be the time, and it'll still probably come out before the Wrestling Code. So,
man, they did They did Bart versus the Space Mutants. They did Bart versus the World. Oh, they did Super Smash TV. Man, I don't think Acclaim is one of those gaming companies that that they've been involved in a lot of games because you always see their logo. But I don't think I ever realized just how many games.
Yeah.
Man.
They've been involved in a lot of stuff here. Sports, wrestling, pop culture, they've done it all.
So many Simpsons games. So many ports to other consoles. Did you know that they were involved with Mortal Kombat Midway?
Oh, I did not.
Apparently, they did some porting or international publishing for some games.
Okay.
Very, very interesting stuff. That's a great question. Guys, let us know what you think about Tekker's question and what your choice would be. Now that Acclaim is being revived, what non-wrestling game would you pick? And let us know on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. John, let the people know what we are playing next episode.
We are going back in time to Fire Pro Wrestling 6-Men Scramble.
Oh,
not many Fire Pros left on our list. This is an important one. We're going to take you all through it.
Hell yeah, looking forward to that. Guys, as always, you can check out all the video content that we are making over at youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast. You can go get some merch for our show, as well as Going Postal over at podexchange.shop. We also have a Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/GameMarksPod. If you want to check out the exclusive content we're making over with our buddy Dylan, that's over at patreon.com/podexchange. You also get early and ad-free access and show notes, and we are available on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. As always, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and if there's a product or service you'd like to advertise on this podcast, you can reach out to us over at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. Another episode in the books, John. Whenever you're ready, do that thing.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.